Part 32. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Ken Ru Xiahua. Chapter 311. The three roommates behind Zhang Ziyu, Xieping, Zhang Ruoxiu, and Li Qingqing, looked wide-eyed when they saw this scene. No, Xiao, you were in the dormitory just now looking like you were heartbroken and careless. How come you met Li Yuan and the other person just stretched out his hand, but you handed it over so consciously? The three girls had the same thought almost at the same time, which was incredible. They thought of 100 scenarios of meeting in their minds, but they never thought of this one. It doesn't look like a scene where a scumbag cheats on you to apologize. Li Yuan didn't like the feeling of being surrounded by people, so he took Zhang Ziyu's little hand and walked through the crowd side by side, preparing to leave. Suddenly, a figure forcibly squeezed through the crowd of onlookers and stood in front of Li Yuan and Zhang Ziyu with great force. "Young fish, you can't go with him." The person who came was none other than Qin Hao, Zhang Ziyu's #1 dog licker at Jida. He was furious, stared at Li Yuan with a gloomy face, and spoke viciously. "Li Yuan, let me tell you, be wise and stop pestering the juveniles, otherwise, you will be responsible for the consequences." When Xieping and others saw Qin Hao suddenly appearing and stopping Li Yuan and the others, their breathing became rapid. Naturally, they also knew this boy. He was the most persistent and determined among Zhang Ziyu's many suitors in Jida. He had been chasing him for more than a year. Before Li Yuan appeared, he was also the suitor most likely to succeed. On campus, I confessed my feelings to Zhang Ziyu many times in various ways, but Zhang Ziyu rejected them without hesitation. The three girls looked at each other and began to feel nervous about the situation in front of them. The #1 campus beauty of Jida, the cheating scumbag boyfriend, the #1 dog licker with a rich background. The magical elements in urban love novels are gathered together. Li Yuan looked at Mr. Qin in front of him, and the scene when the two met last time suddenly appeared in his mind. His expression turned cold, he stared at him directly and sneered. "Don't let the dog play with the mice, mind your own business." After being glared hard by Li Yuan, Qin Hao's heart was filled with rage. Not willing to be outdone, he came up to him and looked at Li Yuan with a sneer. "Li Yuan, you are a scumbag with only a few feet on your hands. What face do you have now to come to see Juyu? Can you give her happiness? No, you can't. You will only hurt her again and again, using her kindness to bully her and hurt her. You don't really like Juyu at all. If you really like Juyu, you should let her go. Don't make her sad and cry. Make her happy. Li Yuan, ask yourself, do you really like juvenile fish? Answer me." Qin Hao's voice made the passers-by who were watching couldn't help but nod frequently in agreement. If you really like someone, you must respect her choice and make her happy. Just like Qin Hao said, if Li Yuan really only likes Zhang's school beauty, he will only have eyes for her and there will be no other girls at all. However, some people looked at Qin Hao, thinking of his past of frantically chasing Zhang Ziyu, and their expressions were a little strange. "Why don't you let go?" Only a few female fans of Li Yuan present were also grunting, muttering to themselves, thinking about how to refute. "Humph, the male god belongs to everyone, so it doesn't matter how many more girlfriends there are. This Qin Hao is really hateful. The male god is tall, handsome, talented, gentle, and rich. Why should this hateful guy be so nosy? Not only is he a third-level cripple, he is also a shrimp-headed man." The atmosphere at the scene suddenly became tense. Even Xieping, Zhang Ruoxiu, and Li Qingqing also looked slightly sideways, staring closely at Li Yuan, waiting for his answer. Li Yuan glanced at the aggressive Qin Hao, then glanced at the crowd around him, and finally, his eyes rested on Zhang Ziyu. Facing her eyes, Li Yuan only asked one sentence. "Xiao Yuer, are you still willing to believe me?" "Yeah," Zhang Ziyu nodded gently. Li Yuan smiled after hearing Zhang Ziyu's answer. Her words are enough. Saying. He ignored Qin Hao's questioning, directly took Zhang Ziu's hand and prepared to leave. Qin Hao, who was ignored, became even more angry. He stared at the hands held by Li Yuan and Zhang Ziu, his eyes seeming to spit fire. The hatred in his heart, the perfect goddess in his mind, was being held by another boy in front of so many people. This boy is still a scumbag who has nothing to lose. Why? After chasing him so affectionately for more than a year, Zhang Ziu never even looked at him, let alone held hands. Qin Hao's eyes were about to burst into flames and he shouted. Li Yuan, you are such a scumbag, do you have the guts to answer me? Do you dare to do it or not? Li Yuan looked at Qin Hao coldly and slowly uttered two words. Silly. Pen. Qin Hao didn't expect that he would be scolded by Li Yuan for being stupid. He was immediately furious and his blood surged. He stretched out his fist and wanted to hit Li Yuan. Li Yuan's reaction was so quick, and he could be said to have quick eyesight and quick hands, and he grabbed Qin Hao's fist directly. Qin Hao's fist stopped about a foot in front of Li Yuan. Then, in full view of everyone, Li Yuan gave Qin Hao's fist a powerful squeeze, which was enough to arm wrestle with a military training instructor. Li Yuan's strength is so great. He is tall and strong, often plays basketball, and has been blessed by rebirth, comparable to a professional athlete. This powerful grip, Qin Hao's fist crackled directly, that is the sound of muscle and bone friction. It hurts, it hurts, it hurts, let me go. Let me go quickly, you bastard. The severe pain made Qin Hao scream out, his face turned pale without any blood color, and his body was uncontrollably bending and shaking violently. Li Yuan sneered and said nothing, his iron hands were still clamping Qin Hao fiercely, staring at him coldly. What is Qin Shao doing? He hit someone first, but was punished all of a sudden. Is this a blow? That's it, look at Qin Hao's face, it has turned liver-colored, and cold sweat is coming out of his forehead due to the pain. It must be very painful. My male god is really handsome in all aspects. The set of movements just now was as cool as flowing water, so handsome, so manly, love love love. Xiahua is very strong. Looking at his expression without changing his face, it seems that he has not used his full strength yet. His physical fitness is too good. He. Do you think you can date 4 girlfriends at the same time? If your physical fitness is not good, I am afraid that one girlfriend will not satisfy him. Li Yuan ignored the surrounding discussions and stared at Qin Hao coldly. Before he drove to Jida in the afternoon, he had received a report from Tan Zonghua on the road. The person in front of him was one of the behind-the-scenes masterminds who made trouble and led the rhythm at the school forum of Jida and Daxia University. In addition to him, there are 2 more in Daxia University, one of whom is even a person he is very familiar with. A person he did not expect at all. On Qin Hao's forehead, cold sweat turned into a stream and slid down his pale face. There was even a look of fear in his eyes. He was really scared of the pain, and felt that his fist was about to be crushed by Li Yuan. Li Yuan, let go. Qin Hao's lips trembled, and a trace of hidden fear flashed in his eyes. Li Yuan sneered expressionlessly, that's it? Qin Hao stared at Li Yuan with his teeth bared, and roared, let go, what else do you want? Li Yuan stared at Qin Hao, and exerted a little force with his right hand again, and said expressionlessly, apologize. Qin Hao heard Li Yuan asking him to apologize, his face suddenly changed, and his eyes stared at Li Yuan fiercely. Just as he was about to say something harsh, he felt Li Yuan's strength on his fist increase again, and his finger bones crackled. I'm sorry, Qin Hao apologized in a low voice with a suffocated heart. Li Yuan sneered, louder, I can't hear. After that, he exerted force again. It was this bastard who was stirring up trouble behind his back, otherwise he wouldn't be so passive. Qin Hao's face was covered with cold sweat, his teeth were constantly trembling, he stared at Li Yuan angrily and yelled. I'm sorry. Haha, weakling. Get lost, Li Yuan sneered and mocked, then let go of Qin Hao's hand. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 312. Just after escaping Li Yuan's iron fist, Qin Hao hurriedly took 3 steps back, roaring at Li Yuan with blazing eyes. His voice changed a little. Li Yuan, I won't let you go. Li Yuan was too lazy to pay attention to him, turned to look at Zhang Ziyu, and saw her staring at him with worry. Xiao Yuer, let's go. Zhang Ziyu nodded and hummed lightly. This time, no one dared to stop him, and Qin Hao could only watch Li Yuan holding Zhang Ziyu's hand and leaving with anger. This Qin Hao is so embarrassed today. This time everyone knows that he is a weakling. We Jida boys have lost face because of him. Tisk tisk, this rich second generation is just a silver gun candle head with a false appearance. It looks good but is useless. This time he kicked the iron plate. This boy is also fierce enough. Is he really not afraid of Qin Shao's revenge? He, now it is a society ruled by law. How can Qin Hao retaliate? Besides, do you know who is next to Li Yuan? That's Zhang Ziyu. In the final analysis, the two of them were just jealous of each other in adolescence. Qin Hao, this guy, has been entangled with Zhang Ziyu for more than a year, and he really doesn't feel ashamed. There are more beautiful girls in our school than just Zhang Ziyu. Can't he chase after others? Why bother to be entangled like a clown? Xieping, Zhang Ruoxiu, and Li Qingqing, 3 roommates, were stunned and hesitant when they saw Li Yuan really lead Zhang Ziyu away. Xieping asked hesitantly, Ruoxiu, Qingqing, should we follow him? Zhang Ruoxiu took a step directly, of course, we must go, just like last time, follow from a distance. Yes, follow, we are protecting Ziyu to prevent Li Yuan from being beastly and doing bad things. Li Qingqing also smiled secretly. Seeing the figures of Li Yuan and Zhang Ziyu gradually disappear, the onlookers were instantly furious. Ah, leaving now? We haven't even eaten the melon yet, should we also follow secretly? It's obvious that they don't want us to hear. Why bother to join in the fun? Forget it, go back to sleep. I stayed up late to watch Battle Starry Sky until 3 in the morning last night. Baby Aoli is a scumbag for once, and I'm really angry for Zhang Ziyu. Hey, if you put it that way, then I'm also a scumbag for Baby Aoli. Tisk tisk, this is a good idea. We can join his book club and call other readers to Baby Ao. My summer flower male god, don't go. Wait for me, I'm still waiting for you to sing a new song. Li Yuan held Zhang Ziyu's little hand and walked on the tree-lined road. The autumn breeze blew the ends of their hair. Li Yuan felt the wetness in his palm, turned his head, and glanced at this once lively and lovely girl. Because of nervousness, a few crystal beads of sweat had overflowed from her white forehead. Xiao Yuer, are you really going abroad? Li Yuan asked in a deep voice. Zhang Ziyu glanced at Li Yuan, her head was dazed, and she nodded gently. Well, I'll leave this Sunday. Li Yuan's body trembled, and the depressed mood filled his chest, making him feel very depressed. He stared at Zhang Ziyu's profile tightly, but he couldn't say don't leave, okay. He had already scummed her, so what qualifications did he have to continue to interfere with her life? It's better to forget each other in the rivers and lakes than to help each other. Li Yuan said with a sad look, then which country are you going to? Zhang Ziyu was stunned, and didn't understand why Li Yuan didn't speak to keep her. Tears kept rolling in her eyes, and her voice was a little choked. Ugly country, Angel City, University of Southern California. When Li Yuan heard this, his eyes suddenly dimmed a lot. Neither of them spoke, and the atmosphere suddenly fell into silence. After a long time, Li Yuan said again, Xiao Yuer, I'm very happy to know you. Zhang Ziyu looked at Li Yuan deeply and replied, Brother Xiahua, I'm also very happy to know you. Li Yuan looked at Xiao Yuer's tearful face and sighed, Do you regret it? Zhang Ziyu shook his head, no regrets, knowing brother Xiahua is the happiest thing in my life. Since the day I added you on QQ, I have been accustomed to chatting with you, talking about novel plots, sharing daily life, listening to you teach me to sing, composing music together, and singing on stage together. I don't regret everything I have done, brother Xiahua. Listening to Zhang Ziyu's story, Li Yuan felt even more uncomfortable. If Zhang Ziyu beat and scolded him severely, he would feel better. But the more gentle the confession, the more he felt upset. What a perfect and excellent girl, but because of me, she was heartbroken and chose to leave the magic city, leave her friends, leave her family, and go to a foreign country. Li Yuan felt very upset, and even the prepared excuses and stories he had made up when he came here could not be opened. He had deceived this girl who only cared about him once, why should he continue to hurt her? Li Yuan stared at Zhang Ziyu's affectionate eyes, and the crystal tears seemed to escape at any time. Both of them were enduring the sadness and reluctance in their hearts. Xiao Yuer, don't say that. I hope you can hate me. I am not worthy of you doing this. I am just a scumbag who lies. Li Yuan laughed bitterly at himself. He felt that he was a complete loser in his previous life. He had the chance of rebirth in this life, but there was no change in essence. His personality was still the same, and it had even become distorted. A dragon slayer who hated dragons eventually became a dragon again. Zhang Ziyu felt Li Yuan's self-blame and guilt, and held his hand tightly, muttering to himself affectionately. Brother Xiahua, I love you. It is my own choice and has nothing to do with anyone. I know now that as long as you have me in your heart, even if it is only a very small part, I will be satisfied. Thank you, brother Xiahua, for letting me learn to grow up. Listening to Zhang Ziyu's words, Li Yuan was stunned, and the tears in his eyes flowed down in an instant. He quickly turned his head, looked at the road ahead, and walked silently. This was the first time he cried since his rebirth, and the first time he cried for a girl. At the moment when Li Yuan turned his head away in tears, Zhang Ziyu also saw it, and her tears could not be controlled and flowed down as well. Brother Xiahua, you still have me in your heart. I didn't like the wrong person, Zhang Ziyu muttered to herself in her heart, and the original worry disappeared from her heart in an instant. Since she knew the news, the thing she was most afraid of was that Li Yuan had never liked her from beginning to end, and everything was her unrequited love. But after seeing Li Yuan crying for her just now, the worry hidden in her heart suddenly disappeared. Brother Xiahua loves herself. The two people, holding hands, were silently crying, walking towards the distance along this asphalt path full of ginkgo trees. Behind the two people, Xie Ping, Zhang Ruoxiu, Li Qingqing, three girls, and some other onlookers, were silently following behind the two people as passers-by. Xie Ping looked at the interaction between the two on the road and whispered. Why do I feel that both Li Yuan and Ziyu seem to be crying? Zhang Ruoxiu also nodded, with a strange look on her face, and exclaimed, could it be that they both thought of the sweetness of their previous relationship and couldn't help crying? Li Qingqing shook her head and guessed, I think it might be because of the reluctance and sadness of parting. Li Yuan, this scumbag, can't he say something nice to persuade Ziyu? Maybe Ziyu will change her mind and not want to go abroad. I can see that Ziyu doesn't want to go abroad. We have known her for more than a year and have never heard that she has any idea of going abroad. It's all because of Li Yuan, this scumbag. Xie Ping sighed, I hope Li Yuan will be a human being this time. If he really forces Ziyu to leave, I will hate him for the rest of my life. Zhang Ruoxia gritted her teeth and replied, me too. As they walked, Li Yuan led Zhang Ziyu to the football field. Li Yuan took the initiative to break the silence. He wiped his tears first, looked at Zhang Ziyu with a smile, and reached out to wipe her tears. Silly girl, don't cry, I'll sing a song for you. Zhang Ziyu let Li Yuan's big hand wipe her tears, stared at Li Yuan with clear eyes, forced a smile on her face, and spoke crisply. "Well, brother Xiahua." Li Yuan pointed to the football field and smiled, "Then let's go to the football field, just like last time, I will sing and you will compose the music." Listening to Li Yuan's words, Zhang Xiao's memory was instantly pulled back to the afternoon of the welcome party of Jida University. The same football field, the same two people, and even the guitar that Li Yuan carried on his back were the same. But it was only half a month apart. Why did it seem like a world away? Is this the power of love? This may be missing. One day without seeing, like 3 months. Behind them, Li Qingqing, Xieping and the other two saw Li Yuan and Zhang Xiao go to the playground. They looked at each other with delight. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 313. Hurry up and follow me quietly. It was like this last time. It was also at this place. Li Yuan and Juyu were singing a love song together. Haha, let me tell you, with Li Zanen's talent, at this time and under such circumstances, how could he not sing a song to retain the young fish? Hey, don't tell me. If Li Yuan is affectionate enough and the songs he writes are touching enough, maybe Juyu will really change his mind. Look, the other melon-eating people have quickly taken their places and eavesdropped. We also hurried over to seize the vantage point. Li Yuan led Zhang Xiao to the football field and sat down in the corner near the football box. Taking off the guitar given to him by Zhang Xiao, Li Yuan tuned the strings and tried to play the rhythm. Zhang Xiao snuggled next to Li Yuan, dragging his chin with his hands and looking at him affectionately. Brother Xiahua, I want to record this video, is that okay? Li Yuan touched her head as usual and said with a smile. As long as you like it, anything is fine. Zhang Xiao's body trembled slightly, his cheeks became a little scarlet, and 2 small dimples were looming. Yeah, thank you brother Xiahua. At this moment, she seemed to have forgotten all the sad past events and the hurt caused by Li Yuan, and just wanted to enjoy this rare world between two people. She took out her mobile phone from her bag, turned on the video recording function, placed the mobile phone on the grass, and focused the camera on the two of them. She herself took out the brush and paper from her bag and prepared to compose music according to Li Yuan's rhythm, just like she did last time. Brother Xiahua, I'm ready. Yeah, Li Yuan nodded. Stirring the strings with both hands, Li Yuan recalled the prelude of Anhe Bridge. The familiar rhythm suddenly sounded, echoing leisurely in the empty football field. Zhang Xiao's expression suddenly froze as she listened to the prelude of the song. She had obviously decided not to be sad anymore, but listening to this leisurely and melancholy prelude, there was always an inexplicable sadness that made her unable to control herself and couldn't help but want to shed tears. There was only a distance of more than 10 meters behind the two of them, and Xieping and the others were also listening to Li Yuan playing the guitar. Zhang Ruoxiu even held up a digital camera with both hands and secretly took pictures. As the prelude of Anhe Bridge played by Li Yuan played, Li Qingqing felt something was wrong as she listened. There was a dull feeling in her heart, lingering in her heart, making her feel like crying. She glanced at Xieping and Zhang Ruoxiu, and whispered softly, "Why is the rhythm of this song so long? I almost want to cry when I listen to it." Xieping also answered very quietly, "This prelude is very special. It has a feeling that penetrates people's hearts. It seems very sad." Zhang Ruoxiu glared at the two of them and reminded in a low voice, "Stop talking and listen attentively." At this time, the prelude of the song ends. Li Yuan played the guitar and hummed in a very low voice. "Let me see you again. From south to north. Please say it again. About that day. I know those summers. Just like youth, there is no coming back. Leave me trapped in the city. In memory of you. Li Yuan sang affectionately, and unknowingly, tears were already flowing down his cheeks. No matter it was in his past life or this life, every time he sang this regretful song, he would always be unable to control his emotions and cry uncontrollably. Zhang Ziyu held a pen and kept drawing on the paper. Looking at Li Yuan's tear-stained cheeks, he felt extremely sad in his heart, and he kept crying, splashing on the green lawn without knowing it. In my heart, there is only one voice that is constantly echoing. Li Yuan looked at Zhang Ziyu affectionately. Thinking of the two people's acquaintance since they joined QQ in early July, until now in late October, although they have only known each other for more than 3 months, they have left an indelible and profound memory in their bodies and minds. This girl who had eyes full of herself finally chose to leave herself, leave the magical city, and go to a foreign country because of her own injuries. But I was so cowardly that I couldn't even say a word to save him. Perhaps, this is the real self. Li Yuan sighed in his heart and continued to hum deeply, this song full of regrets. Let me have another taste. Autumn wine. Let me listen again. The most beautiful sentence. You are home. I'm waiting for you. I know those summers. Just like you can't come back. I won't have high expectations for anyone anymore. I know this world. There are too many regrets every day. So hello bye. Wait until Li Yuan finishes singing. Zhang Ziyu was already crying. He could no longer hold back his inner emotions and threw the brush and paper aside. Then, she hugged Li Yuan's arm with tears in her eyes, looked at his tearful cheeks, faced him directly, and kissed him. Thanks to Lazy Yan Jiang's younger brother for the 10,000 reward. Chapter 194 Brother Xiahua, you want me? Football field, in a corner. Xieping, Li Qingqing, Zhang Ruoxiu and other onlookers were listening to Li Yuan's melodious, profound, and sad singing, immersed in some inexplicable regret in their hearts, and quietly wept. Suddenly, the scene that appeared in front of them shocked everyone, shocked their eyes, and instantly broke the sad mood. Li Qingqing's eyes widened, and when she saw Zhang Ziyu taking the initiative to kiss Li Yuan, she couldn't help but curse. I'll go, what's going on? Why did the young fish suddenly take the initiative to kiss Li Yuan? Zhang Ruoxiu rubbed her wrist, which was already sore and numb from holding a digital camera, and replied in confusion. I can't figure it out either. Are the juveniles planning to kiss each other goodbye? Wait a minute, I'm a little dazzled, let me take a closer look. Xieping rubbed her eyes to make sure she saw it correctly. It was indeed Zhang Ziyu who took the initiative to hold Li Yuan and offered him the incense, and Li Yuan also responded enthusiastically, holding Zhang Ziyu sideways in his arms, half lying down in an up and down position. This posture is too common in football stadiums and is a signature posture between couples. It can not only protect privacy very well, but also make little girls feel like a little bird, tender and pitiful. The experience is very nice. Xieping murmured, is it possible that Ziyu and Li Yuan have rekindled their old relationship? How could it be so fast? Li Qingqing asked in disbelief, just because of this song. Did the young fish forgive him? Who knows? Xieping shook her head speechlessly, feeling very confused. The rhythm and emotion of this song are really touching, making people unable to help but feel full of regret and cry unconsciously. Perhaps, the young fish has feelings in his heart, and when his love reaches a deep level, he can't help but burst out with emotion, and take the initiative to kiss Li Yuan. Zhang Ruoxiu glanced at the other melon eaters around her and saw that they were all taking photos with their mobile phones, with weird smiles on their faces, and couldn't help but joke. I can guarantee that after a while, there will be a post about Zhu and Li Yuan kissing passionately on the playground in our school forum. Xieping also burst into laughter and joked, that's for sure, Ziyu and Li Yuan are now popular figures, just like those celebrities, they can attract onlookers wherever they go. If the two of them enter the entertainment industry and debut as a group, maybe they can really become the new generation of kings and queens. Jang Ruoxiu pursed her lips and snickered, haha, it is indeed possible. This song just now, if recorded seriously in the studio, would also be a hit. And that special prelude sounds very sad, as if it can arouse emotions. It's really strange. I feel a little regretful about the love I missed in high school. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Ken Ru Xiahua. Chapter 314. Xieping nodded in agreement and sighed, oh, I suddenly understand why Xiao loves Li Yuan so much. He is really super talented. I feel that he is on the same level as Jie Zhou and Lin Junjia. The most important thing is that Li Zinan is really tall and handsome, and his physical fitness is so good. Xiao used to be a novice in relationships, and Li Yuan is a good talker. It is normal for Xiao to fall into the whirlpool of love. He, since they both kissed in public, shouldn't we hope that Li Yuan can convince Juyu to stay in the country, even if he changes his life in another city, he doesn't necessarily have to go abroad. Zhang Ruoxiu shook her head, let's just wait and see the results. I think Juyu and Li Yuan will have to kiss for a while. Tisk, tisk, I originally wanted to watch an emotional drama today, but I didn't expect that I would eat a bunch of dog food again. I really caught a few of us singles and tortured them to death. Li Qingqing chuckled, rolled her eyes at Zhang Ruoxiu, and joked. I can't count the number of boys in our school who are chasing you on two hands. If you want to experience sweet love, you can try to find someone you like. Zhang Ruoxiu curled her lips and muttered, they are all crooked melons and cracked dates. I would rather stay alone than take advantage of them. The person I'm looking for, let alone someone as outstanding as Li Scumbag, I can't hold on to such a person, but at least he must be tall. I'm 168, and if the person I'm looking for is not over 180, I won't consider it at all. Xieping laughed and joked, he, we all know that when you find a boyfriend, you follow the 180 principles. Zhang Ruoxiu blushed and replied confidently, I finally got into Jida, so what's the matter with being more demanding? This is for my future happiness. Xieping smiled and said nothing. 180 is not only Zhang Ruoxiu's criteria for choosing a spouse, but also the ideal type in the hearts of most girls. Ruoxiu, Qing, you guys are asking, does Li Yuan have 180? Xieping asked shyly in a low voice. Zhang Ruoxiu was startled and asked subconsciously, which one are you talking about? Xieping lowered her voice shyly, which one can it be? Of course it's that one. Li Qingqing pursed her lips and snickered, not to mention Li Yuan's height and house, they must both be 180. Ruoxiu, who else do you think it could be? Zhang Ruoxiu suddenly thought of something, spat, and muttered in her heart, this is not necessarily true, and height and speciality may not necessarily mean that you are good in other aspects. On the football field, under the warm sunshine, Li Yuan and Zhang Xiao were feeling each other's warmth. When his big hands went to tease the two snow-white fur pets raised by Zhang Xiao squeaked, his body trembled slightly, his voice was a little shy, and he broke away from Li Yuan's arms in a panic. From that intoxication wake up from the haze. Zhang Xiao stared at Li Yuan's face with blurred eyes, her heart beating fast. Every time she was with Li Yuan, she couldn't control herself. Li Yuan seemed to have a kind of magic in him, which always attracted her involuntarily. Brother Xiahua, Zhang Xiao looked at Li Yuan and murmured softly to himself. The tears in his eyes had faded away, leaving only deep friendship. Li Yuan smiled and subconsciously licked his lower lips, the unique taste of Xiao Yu still lingering in his mouth. He reached out and touched Zhang Xiao's head. Looking at the beautiful face of the girl in front of him, Li Yuan finally summoned up the courage to speak out the thoughts in his heart. Xiao Yu, can you not go abroad? When Zhang Ziyu heard Li Yuan's words to persuade him to stay, his heart was like a fawn. His big talking eyes blinked and blinked, staring at Li Yuan, which made Li Yuan feel a little uncomfortable. Li Yuan touched his cheek and asked doubtfully, "Xiao Yuer, are there flowers on my face?" Zhang Ziyu chuckled, stared at Li Yuan with his beautiful eyes, and said quietly, "Brother Xiahua, I thought you wouldn't ask me to stay." Li Yuan rubbed Zhang Ziyu's head with an embarrassed expression and sighed. "Xiao Yuer, I don't know what qualifications I have to retain you, and I don't have the face to retain you." Zhang Ziyu raised his head, stared at Li Yuan seriously, and said shyly, "Brother Xiahua, have you ever loved me?" "Yes," Li Yuan nodded without hesitation, "always love it." After receiving Li Yuan's affirmative answer, Zhang Ziyu's beautiful eyes suddenly became filled with joy. He stared at Li Yuan again and asked softly, "Well, brother Xiahua, when did you fall in love with me? I want to know." After saying that, he looked shy and waited expectantly for Li Yuan's answer. Facing Zhang Ziyu's eyes, Li Yuan thought seriously, and scenes emerged in his mind. In the end, the scene was fixed on the day when the new students started reporting for school. When Zhang Ziyu, who looked like an elf in Hanfu, held a bouquet of flowers in his hand and gave the bouquet of school flowers to himself, he affectionately called Brother Xiahua. Probably, at that time, I started to feel excited and fell in love with her. That was the first bouquet of flowers I received in my 2 lifetimes combined. She is also a die-hard fan of hers, a beautiful elf girl who gave her flowers. If it were any boy, his heart would be pounding, and he himself was no exception. When he returned to the dormitory that night, he felt a little dreamy and unreal. A top-notch young rich woman who likes fantasy novels actually has a face comparable to that of a fairy sister, and she always says Brother Xiahua. To be honest, he never dared to think so in his own dreams. And such an outstanding girl was actually trashed by herself. Li Yuan stared at Zhang Ziyu's face and spoke slowly. "Xiao Yuer, do you still remember the day you went to find me at the beginning of the freshman year?" Zhang Ziyu nodded, "Always remember." Li Yuan spoke with memories in his eyes. This was obviously a short time, but it seemed like a long time had passed. "That day, when you appeared in front of me wearing a horse-faced skirt, holding school flowers, calling me Brother Xiahua, and we wandered together on the Daxia campus, when you sang that song Blue and White Porcelain, I fell in love with you right away. Later on, I chatted with you every day, talked to you on the phone, you taught me how to play the guitar, and we sang together. The feelings slowly became deeper and deeper until they were engraved in my mind and completely imprinted. Xiao Yuer, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have hurt you." Li Yuan sighed deeply. This was the 3rd time he apologized to Zhang Ziyu today. Zhang Ziyu looked at Li Yuan, and her heart was throbbing. The question that had been in her mind for a long time finally broke through the shackles of her thoughts and was asked by her. "Brother Xiahua, can I ask you one more thing?" Li Yuan was startled, and when he met Zhang Ziyu's eyes, he had a premonition in his heart. He could probably guess what Zhang Ziyu would ask. "Just ask." Zhang Ziyu looked at Li Yuan, his heartbeat suddenly accelerated, and he asked weakly, "Brother Xiahua, can you tell me about the 3 of them?" Li Yuan sighed secretly in his heart. Zhang Ziyu was indeed asking this question. Regarding this issue, different girls will have different ideas. Xia's Haijin is a girl with a soft and sweet personality. She may want to know why she lied to her. But she kept it in her heart and didn't ask herself. Maybe, when she didn't know it, she would just cry silently alone. This is her character. Baiwaxi's character is both rational and emotional. She considers her to be her childhood sweetheart. She has been chasing her for 3 years in high school and has a deep emotional foundation, so, she asked and got the answer she didn't want to know. As for Zhong Tingyu, she didn't ask, because the basis of their acquaintance was from that story. She was a proud and inferior girl. Maybe she wanted to ask, maybe she didn't want to know at all, so she chose to isolate herself. Now, Zhang Ziyu asked. Li Yuan didn't want to continue to deceive this elf-like girl, so he chose to answer sincerely. Li Yuan looked at Zhang Ziyu, put her little hand in his palm, and spoke slowly. Xiao Yuer, let me tell you a story. I once had a very real dream. This dream seemed so real that I couldn't tell whether it was true or false. It was like I had lived my whole life again. In the dream, I was a very ordinary boy. He can't write novels or songs, he doesn't even sing well, his mouth is stupid, and his emotional intelligence is very low. In that world, I was deeply in love with a girl. Ever since I was in high school, I had seen her all over the world. For her, I was willing to do anything, work hard part-time work and make money. Later, she took me abandoned. Her name is Baiwuxi, my high school classmate. After that, I was completely desperate for relationships and never believed in any relationships again, until I met Baiwuxi's roommate again. She was a girl who looked very cold on the outside, but was very enthusiastic on the inside. She was the most difficult and helpless girl in my life. When I was there, it gave me warmth. I don't know how long it took in the dream, but I suddenly woke up. My personality became a little withdrawn, even a little abnormal, and I started to give up on myself. I wanted to take revenge on Baiwuxi, and take revenge on why she behaved like that in that real dream world. Treat me cruelly. At that time, I just wanted to be a complete scumbag, not taking the initiative, refusing, and taking responsibility. Zhang Ziyu dragged her chin with her hands and listened quietly to the story described by Li Yuan. At some point, a few crystal tears appeared in her beautiful eyes. Li Yuan seemed not to notice, and continued to describe his psychological changes in detail. On the first day after I entered college, it was like fate. I met Zhong Tingyu and then a poor girl in our class who lost her parents at the age of 8. Her name was Xiao's Haijin. Li Yuan looked at Zhang Ziyu, touched her head, and said with a self-deprecating smile. Also, it was just the first time we met, and my heart suddenly fell in love with that little you are wearing hanfu. Brother Xiahua. Zhang Ziyu looked moved and shed tears. With a pair of soft and white hands, she tightly grasped Li Yuan's big hand and stared at him with blurred eyes. Li Yuan smiled wryly at himself. Influenced by the real dream in my previous life, I obviously said that I wanted to be a scumbag, but because I met you, I found it difficult for me to be so cruel. I couldn't help but fall into it, which turned into a contradiction. Collective. After Li Yuan finished speaking, he looked at Zhang Ziyu who was crying and suddenly felt very uncomfortable in his heart. This feeling, after the outbreak in Shura Field, after seeing Zhong Tingyu, Xiao's Haijin, and Zhang Ziyu crying sadly, my heart was like suffering, and it has been going on for a long time. Xiao Yuer, I don't know what you will think of me, and I also know that I am not qualified to ask you to forgive me. I did have the mentality of being a scumbag before, but after meeting you, I have been suffering from inner torment every day. I said this just to tell you my true thoughts. I don't want to deceive you. I respect all your choices. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 315. Zhang Ziyu stared at Li Yuan blankly, her mind was confused. She had never expected that Li Yuan and the three of them would have such a story. This caught her off guard. As for Li Yuan's other three girlfriends, she had seen their photos because of someone's deliberate behavior, but she knew nothing about the story behind them. When she first learned that Li Yuan had three other girlfriends, she was so angry because she felt deceived. If Li Yuan didn't like her, he could just tell her directly. Why did he keep her hanging like that and not reject any of her confessions? Sometimes, she doubted herself that Li Yuan was just playing with her feelings and had no love for her at all. But she didn't want to believe it in her heart, so she went to the new book signing event and watched it secretly. It was also because of the song Just Met You that made her heart waver a little, wanting to make sure whether Li Yuan really cared about her and really loved her. That's why she wanted to go abroad to verify Li Yuan's feelings for her. But after hearing the story Li Yuan just told, combined with his reaction after hearing that she was going abroad, she wrote those songs for herself. She firmly didn't believe that Li Yuan just wanted to deceive her and play with her feelings. Because, many times, she was the one who took the initiative. Li Yuan had the opportunity to get her completely, but he gave up. Li Yuan rubbed Zhang Xiao's head again, scratched her nose with tears, and spoke in a low and affectionate voice. Xiao Yuer, I don't want you to choose to leave your friends, leave your family, and leave this familiar place because of me, a scumbag. I just hope you will be happy in the future and be the playful, cute, quirky, and carefree Xiao Yuer when I first met you. As long as you can be happy, I am willing to completely disappear from your sight. Xiao Yuer, promise me to be yourself. Don't go abroad, okay? Zhang Xiao listened to Li Yuan's affectionate admonition, with mixed feelings in her heart, thoughts flying in her mind, and looked at Li Yuan's face with complicated eyes. After a long pause, she slowly nodded. Brother Xiahua, I promise you. Li Yuan was relieved when he heard Zhang Xiao promised not to go abroad again. If she really chose to go to a foreign country to study because of him, he would not be able to forgive himself. Li Yuan looked at Zhang Xiao and asked tentatively, Xiao Yuer, what are your plans? Zhang Xiao was stunned and panicked. Facing Li Yuan's gaze, she heard what Li Yuan meant, bit her lip, and shook her head slightly. I don't know. Li Yuan's heart flashed with a hint of joy. Zhang Xiao did not explicitly refuse and hesitated, which meant that she still had deep feelings for him. Brother Xiahua, I really don't know how to face you. I really don't want to leave you. I want to be with you all the time, but I can't bear to share your feelings with other girls. Every time I think of that, I feel very heartbroken. Brother Xiahua, can you understand my feeling? Zhang Xiao stared at Li Yuan with her beautiful eyes and asked helplessly. What do you think I should do now? Li Yuan was stunned. In this situation, how could he tell Zhang Xiao what to do? If it were her, giving herself a few slaps would be considered light. It is very likely that the body would be sunk and shaken in the Pu river. Because feelings are very selfish, it is impossible to share with others, unless the degree of love for a person exceeds ethics and morality, or... Li Yuan shook his head slightly and sighed, Xiao Yuer, I am not qualified to make decisions for you. I am sorry for you. I will support all your decisions. After hearing Li Yuan's answer, Zhang Xiao was suddenly disappointed. She hoped that Li Yuan would go and say something to her without hesitation. Come back, Xiao Yuer. But she knew that the sentence could not be said by someone who truly loves her. If you truly love someone, you will choose to respect her decision and choose to bless her. But, Brother Xiahua, you are my true love. How can I convince myself to give up on you? Zhang Xiao muttered to herself, with two people fighting in her mind. One was gentle and lovely, wearing ancient hanfu, with a gentle and pleasant voice, and two shallow dimples on her cheeks, smiling and persuading her. Xiao Yuer, since you like it in your heart, then go bravely and choose to embrace it. There is no perfect feeling. There will always be passion and impulse. Even if you get hurt in the end, you have to do it vigorously and don't let yourself regret it in the future. The other one was wearing a black windbreaker, wearing black sunglasses, with a face as cold as frost, and only a cold sentence. Zhang Xiao, wake up, he loves more than just you. With your pride, would you be willing to share your feelings with other girls? Give up, stay away from the scumbag. Two different figures, fighting evenly in the mind, it was impossible to tell the winner for a while. Li Yuan saw Zhang Xiao's tangled expression and bewildered look, reached out to take the guitar, and said with a smile. Xiao Yuer, can you help me again? Zhang Ziyu came back to his senses, stared at Li Yuan's cheek, and replied, Brother Xiahua, I promise you everything I can do. After saying this, Zhang Ziyu's heart was pounding. The last time after singing at the Jida welcome party, in the Lamborghini sports car, I also said this sentence, and then, something very special happened. For some reason, Zhang Ziyu suddenly felt an inexplicable expectation in his heart. Li Yuan reached out and picked up the brush and paper that Zhang Ziyu had just thrown away on the green lawn, and handed them to Zhang Ziyu. Xiao Yuer, please help me compose some music again. An imperceptible blush flashed across Zhang Ziyu's face. He glanced at Li Yuan out of the corner of his eye, said oh softly, and took the paper and pen. Li Yuan smiled slightly and said, Xiao Yuer, the song I just met you that I sang that day was also given to you by me, but there is no music. Can we work together to complete it? Yes, Zhang Ziyu nodded. The playful and lively self in his mind seemed to have received a mysterious blessing. He suddenly became bolder and spoke louder than his own self. Xiao Yuer, when you first met, he created confession balloon for you. That's when he started to like you, but he was embarrassed to confess to you, so he changed his way. After you two got together, he wrote a couple's duet called No Makeup for you, and chose to sing with you on stage at the Jida New Year party to witness your relationship. When that incident broke out, he chose to sing Just Met You for you at a book signing, in front of hundreds of readers, and TV stations. This shows that he knew the result in his heart, but he was very happy to meet you. Got you. When you met today, he wrote an bridge for you again, also to miss his relationship with you, which shows that he can't let you go at all. Xiao Yuer, don't these 4 songs represent his love for you? What are you still hesitating about? Zhang Ziyu was very confused inside and confused. Until the sound of the guitar played by Li Yuan rang in her ears, and she came back to her senses. She held a paintbrush in her hand and gently sketched out the notes one by one. Li Yuan looked at Zhang Ziyu, who was sketching notes one after another with a plain pen, looked at her affectionately, and spoke slowly. We cried. We laugh. We look up at the sky. How many stars are still shining? Because I happened to meet you. Leaving footprints is beautiful. The wind blows and the flowers shed tears like rain. Because I don't want to be separated. Behind Li Yuan and Zhang Ziyu, Zhang Ruoxiu, Xieping, and Li Qingqing were talking quietly. Suddenly, another beautiful melody came to my ears. Hey, Li Yuan is singing again? Why does this song sound so familiar? It seems like I have heard it somewhere, Zhang Ruoxiu asked curiously. Xieping listened carefully. She was Li Yuan's hidden fan and book friend. As soon as she heard the familiar lyrics, her eyes suddenly lit up and she couldn't help but hum along in a low voice. Because I happened to meet you and leave traces that are beautiful. Li Qingqing heard clearly, she covered her mouth and said in shock. This song seems to have been sung live by Li Yuan to the young fish at his book signing event. Why is it sung again now? I've seen the live video of that day, and it feels a little flawed due to environmental issues. Xieping looked at Li Yuan and Zhang Ziyu in front of her, and said with some envy. This may be because Li Yuan chose to sing it to Juyu alone because it was a song he wrote for her. Zhang Ruoxiu muttered at the corner of her mouth, confession balloon, no makeup, just met you, and the song just now, how come I feel like a complete closed loop has been formed in a relationship? Meet each other, fall in love, break up, and reminisce. Tisk tisk, Li Yuan is really quite good. When Xieping heard Zhang Ruoxiu's emotion, her heart moved and she began to recall the rhythm of these songs. She did have the feeling Zhang Ruoxiu said. Ziyu and Li Yuan, are they really breaking up? After Li Yuan finished playing and singing Just Met You, a few tears overflowed from the corners of his eyes. He has been a sensitive person all his life, but his emotional intelligence is not high. When listening to and singing some songs, he is easily aroused by the emotions in his heart. Xiao Yuer, thank you. I also officially give you the song Just Met You. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Ken Ru Xiahua. Chapter 316. Li Yuan rubbed Zhang Ziu's head, smiled slightly, and spoke sincerely. No matter what the result between us is, I will always remember you. There is a girl who has eyes full of me, who once loved me so deeply. Don't let down the encounter, leave no regrets. Zhang Ziu stared at Li Yuan with tears in her eyes, her voice choked several times. At this moment, the self in white in her heart completely defeated the self in black, and her mind was full of Li Yuan's figure. Brother Xiahua, please take me, I want to be your real girlfriend. Chapter 195 Quadrikill, Xiao's Tears. After saying this, Zhang Ziu lowered her head shyly. A faint blush spread all over her body, dyeing her slender neck like snow and jade red, and her heartbeat was thumping, as if it was about to jump out of her throat. After hearing this, Li Yuan was stunned, staring blankly at Zhang Ziu, who was shy and timid, and his body trembled. He felt a little incredible, as if he was dreaming. Xiao Yuer, what are you talking about? Li Yuan asked blankly. Zhang Ziu plucked up her courage, raised her head, and looked at Li Yuan affectionately with her beautiful big eyes. She bit her lips and shyly repeated the sentence again. Brother Xiahua, I want to be your real girlfriend. Li Yuan was stunned and silent, his lips moved, and just as he was about to speak, he heard Zhang Ziu's shy voice. Brother Xiahua, just like you just said, live up to the encounter and leave no regrets. Since you have chosen to love you, I want to be your real girlfriend, just like them. Listening to Zhang Ziu's words, Li Yuan's body trembled, looking at her very serious eyes, his mouth opened and closed, not knowing how to answer. He didn't expect Zhang Ziu to say this. He had already scummed her, and she didn't hate him to the bone, but she actually wanted to be his real girlfriend. Is this the so-called true love? A completely love-brained girl, for love, knowing that she is a scumbag, she is willing to give up everything. Is it worth it? I am not worthy of her doing this. I am not worthy of her love. For Xia's Haijin, Zhong Tingyu, and Bai Wuxi, at least he has provided them with material guarantees. But for Zhang Ziu, he did not give anything except sending her a few songs. And this girl has given a lot to him. Li Yuan sighed in his heart. If it was before, he might not hesitate. But these days, after experiencing so much, he backed off. These days, he saw the lonely Xia's Haijin, the pitiful Bai Wuxi, and the heartbroken Zhong Tingyu. Because he has had substantial relationships with all three of them, he will not let go no matter what, unless they firmly choose to leave. But Zhang Ziu is different. Although the two have an intimate relationship, they have not yet reached the last step, and the degree of hurt is not that deep. If it really came to that, he didn't know how to face this girl. Li Yuan took a deep breath, reached out his hand, rubbed her head, and smiled bitterly. Xiao Yuer, don't be impulsive, be rational, I really don't want to hurt you anymore. Zhang Ziu stared at Li Yuan and spoke word by word, Brother Xiahua, I am already very rational, I don't care, I just want you. What they can do for Brother Xiahua, I can do too, I want to be your real girlfriend for once. Li Yuan was stunned and shook his head, Xiao Yuer, you are different from them, I really don't want to hurt you anymore, it's not too late now. Zhang Ziu stared at Li Yuan stubbornly, but, you said that you would live up to the encounter and leave no regrets. Are you lying to me? I don't want to leave regrets in my life. Brother Xiahua, you are my first love and the first man I really love. Are you unwilling to agree to my request? Or are you lying to me when you said you love me? Li Yuan felt very helpless. He found that Zhang Ziyu was a little love-brained since he just met her. I thought that after experiencing this incident, she would grow up a lot, but Li Yuan never expected that she would love him so deeply. Li Yuan still refused firmly, he was really scared. Xiao Yuer, wait until you calm down before talking. I am very calm now, brother Xiahua, do you hate me? Why can you be with them but not with me? Zhang Ziyu looked like she was about to cry, her eyes were very stubborn. Have you never loved me from the beginning to the end? Li Yuan paused, then explained softly, I love you so much, how can I hate you? It's just that I'm afraid you will regret it in the future. I can't promise you anything, and it's impossible for me to give up all of them. You will only hurt yourself more if you do this. Can you wake up? I really don't deserve you to do this for me. Brother Xiahua, you are not a fish, how can you know the joy of fish? Zhang Ziyu bit her lip, I've said that everything is my own will, and I won't blame you. If you don't agree to me, I will go abroad immediately this weekend, cut off all contact with you, and let you never see me again in your life. Being specially threatened by Zhang Ziyu, Li Yuan was silent for a moment, looking at her sincere eyes, and finally nodded helplessly. Why is this silly girl so silly? It made him feel very painful, very painful. Seeing Li Yuan agreed, Zhang Ziyu's stubborn face immediately changed into a shy smile, and she gently pulled Li Yuan's sleeve and urged. Brother Xiahua, let's go. Li Yuan was stunned. Is it necessary to be so urgent? Xiao Yuer, have you really thought it through? Zhang Ziyu rolled her eyes at Li Yuan, well, brother Xiahua, why are you so fussy? When you were in the car that day, weren't you very like that? Li Yuan touched his nose awkwardly. Thinking. Can the situation at that time be the same as the situation now? It's not the same at all, right? Zhang Ziyu stood up and took Li Yuan's hand. In the early autumn sunshine, the figures of the two people were stretched very long. Let's go. Well, Li Yuan responded, his heartbeat suddenly accelerated, thumping, and suddenly became very nervous. Li Yuan, carrying his guitar and holding Zhang Ziyu's hand, just turned around and was about to leave. He saw Zhang Ziyu's three roommates Sieping, Zhang Ruoxiu, Li Qingqing, and some other Jinan University students not far behind him, all looking over curiously. This scene, it was obvious that the scene of him and Zhang Ziyu singing and composing together just now was all seen by them. Li Yuan's heart jumped, and he immediately looked at Zhang Ziyu, and her expression was also a little confused. The two looked at each other, and Li Yuan still held Zhang Ziyu's hand and came to the side of the three. Sieping was the first to say hello, Ziyu, Li Yuan, where are you going? Zhang Ruoxiu and Li Qingqing also showed doubts. Li Yuan looked a little embarrassed, holding Zhang Ziyu's palm, and there was a trace of sweat. Every time he was secretly watched by Zhang Ziyu's roommates, he was speechless. Sieping continued to ask curiously, Li Yuan, what is the name of the song you just sang? Li Yuan asked in confusion, which one are you talking about? Zhang Ruoxiu snorted lightly, curled her lips, and continued, it's the first song you sang. The prelude of the song is very long, a bit like a folk song, and it sounds a bit sad. What's the name of the song? Before Li Yuan spoke, Zhang Ziyu on the side had already explained, with a slightly shy face. This song is called Anhe Bridge. Anhe Bridge? The name is a bit strange, but it sounds very nice, with a unique feeling, and almost made me cry. Sieping looked at Li Yuan with a smile and praised sincerely. Li, your great talent in music is really shocking and enviable. Is this song also for Ziyu? He, is there any special meaning? I feel that the song is full of stories. Li Yuan smiled and didn't speak. He looked at Sieping and the other two, and suddenly said something to invite them. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 317. Three beauties, we have known each other for so long, but we have never had a formal meal together. Let's have a meal together tonight. Zhang Ruoxiu's eyes lit up and she stared at Li Yuan. Her slightly yellow eyes rotated and she pursed her lips and chuckled. Li Yuan, why did you suddenly think of treating us to a big dinner today? Do you have something to ask of us? Or do you want to celebrate your reconciliation with Zhu? Just as Li Yuan was about to speak, Zhang Xiao suddenly pulled his sleeve and looked at him doubtfully. Seems to be asking. Isn't it already agreed, is there anything else? Li Yuan looked slightly embarrassed. He felt that something was indeed wrong with Zhang Xiao today. He really didn't want to continue hurting this girl who was like an elf goddess, so he wanted to take the opportunity of inviting Xieping and the girls to dinner to help Zhang Xiao regain his composure. Zhang Xiao seemed to have guessed Li Yuan's plan. He glared at Li Yuan secretly with dissatisfaction, and then looked at his three roommates with a smile. Ping Ping, Ruoxiu, Ching Ching, brother Xiahua and I have something to do for a while. I will treat you to a big dinner another day. After saying that, without waiting for Li Yuan to explain, he secretly pinched Li Yuan's back with one hand and made a soft moan. Brother Xiahua, you just promised me. Xieping blinked and blinked, moving back and forth between Li Yuan and Zhang Xiao. She felt something was wrong, but she couldn't remember the reason for a while. Jiayu, Li Yuan, well, since you have something to do, let's wait for another day. Xieping replied, looking at Li Yuan and Zhang Xiao still holding hands. She had already concluded in her heart that the two had reconciled. Zhang Ruoxiu also muttered, we agreed to have a big meal, Li Yuan, we will definitely kill you severely. Well, you can choose anywhere in the whole demon city, Li Yuan replied boldly and touched his nose awkwardly. He felt a little regretful and a little lucky in his heart, and his mood was very complicated. Tisk, tisk, you are indeed a great talent, Li Qingqing. Li Qingqing licked her lips, thinking about what to eat in her mind. Zhang Xiao took Li Yuan's hand and said calmly, brother Xiahua, let's go. Ping Ping, Ching Ching, Ruoxiu, let's go first. The figures of Li Yuan and Zhang Xiao gradually disappeared from sight. Xieping looked at Zhang Ruoxiu and Li Qingqing and expressed her doubts. Ruoxiu, Qingqing, do you feel something is wrong? Zhang Ruoxiu frowned slightly, what's wrong? I can't really tell. It just feels a little wrong, especially the juvenile fish. It feels very strange to me. Xieping thought of Zhang Xiao's slightly blushing face and frowned. Ping Ping, you must be overthinking it. I think everything is quite normal. The only question I have is, what else did Li Yuan say to Xiao that made him change his mind so quickly? Are the two of them getting back together? I'm also very curious. Li Yuan is really good at talking sweet words. I don't know what he said to Xiao to make Xiao, a silly girl, obey his words. Alas, Xiao is really a stupid love brain. Maybe. I hope Li Yuan can be a human being for once and stop hurting a simple girl like Zhu Yu. Li Yuan held Zhang Xiao's hand and walked on the school road. Both of them were a little silent and nervous. The hands they held were already a little wet with sweat. Li Yuan asked, Xiao Yu, are you nervous? Zhang Xiao nodded, yeah, a bit. Li Yuan asked tentatively, well, how about waiting for another day? Zhang Xiao decisively refused, no, brother Xiahua, you have already promised me. Li Yuan was speechless, okay then. The two of them continued to walk in silence, neither speaking. Zhang Xiao suddenly asked again, brother Xiahua, do you have any dreams? Dream, Li Yuan frowned. Zhang Xiao blinked, looked at Li Yuan, and said playfully, yeah, everyone has dreams. I want to know what your dream is, brother Xiahua. My dream, Li Yuan was stunned. What dream did he have? In his previous life, his dream was very simple. In the beginning, his dream was biweekly. After this dream was shattered, his dream was to make a lot of money, buy a house of his own in Shanghai, and then find a better and more beautiful girlfriend than biweekly to make her regret. But this dream, even at the moment before rebirth, had no chance of coming true. And what is his dream when he returns from a new life? It seems there is no more. I don't know what my dream is. Maybe make a lot of money, achieve financial freedom, buy whatever I want, make myself comfortable, and make the people I love happy. He rubbed Zhang Ziu's head and asked curiously. Xiao Yuer, tell me about your dream. Zhang Ziu pursed his lips, thought for a moment, looked at Li Yuan again, and spoke slowly. Brother Xiahua, my dream is very simple. With the person I love and the person who loves me deeply, we can see the great rivers and mountains of the motherland together, travel around the world together, do what we like to do together, and fly freely. Listening to music, singing songs, blowing the sea breeze, bathing in the sunshine. Li Yuan listened quietly to Zhang Ziu telling her dreams. Given her conditions, her dream is not out of reach, and can even be said to be within reach. The most difficult thing is probably to find a partner who loves each other deeply. Now, the person she chose is me, but I can't accompany her to fulfill her dream. The process of life is like this, whether rich or poor, it will always be full of regrets. After Zhang Ziu finished speaking, her bright eyes stared at Li Yuan quietly. Brother Xiahua, can you accompany me to realize my dream? Li Yuan couldn't bear to refuse, and nodded gently, I will. After hearing this, Zhang Ziu was much happier and said with a smile. He, Brother Xiahua, this is what you promised me in person, you can't regret it. As long as you are willing, I will always be with you. Li Yuan looked at Zhang Ziu's face seriously, until forever. Zhang Ziu blushed, holding Li Yuan's little hand, and tightened it even more. Yeah. I am willing to. After a while, the two came to the BMW X6 parked by Li Yuan on the side of the road. It was the first time for Zhang Ziu to ride in Li Yuan's car. After getting in the car and sniffing, the smile on her face suddenly faded. Her sense of smell was very sensitive, and she had guessed that there must be other girls in this car besides her. Because there was a unique smell left by them in the car. Brother Xiahua, I don't want to be in the car, let's go to another place. Li Yuan was embarrassed, and he didn't say in the car. It was really a bit outrageous to be in the car for the first time. Li Yuan asked again tentatively, Xiao Yuer, how about we just walk around the school? Zhang Ziu snorted, Brother Xiahua, why are you so timid today? I'm afraid you will regret it in the future, Li Yuan replied silently. Zhang Ziu curled her lips and urged, Humph, drive faster. Where to? Hotel. Jida, a male dormitory. Qin Hao shook his right hand, which was pinched by Li Yuan. He was in severe pain, as if his bones were crushed, and he couldn't use any strength at all. Suddenly, a phone call came in. Qin Hao quickly answered the call. It was his spy near Zhang Ziu. A female voice came from the other end of the phone, Mr. Qin, there is bad news. Qin Hao looked panicked, hurry up and tell me. The goddess paused, as if she was thinking about the tone. After a while, she spoke. Well, Mr. Qin, I'll tell you, don't be angry. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 318. Zhang's school beauty and that Li Yuan seemed to have reconciled again. I saw them kissing on the playground and then driving off together in a car. Qin Hao's eyes widened and he shouted loudly, What, you mean that the young fish has reconciled with that scumbag again? And they're still kissing in public in the playground? Well, yes, many people in our school saw it. The voice on the other end of the phone was a little subtle. How Qin Hao madly pursues Zhang Ziu has been heard throughout Jida, as long as anyone pays a little attention to the school gossip. But now, Zhang Ziyu would rather choose a super scumbag with 4 legs than Qin Hao. One can imagine how big a blow this incident had on him. Really? From the microphone, Qin Hao's angry and hysterical roar came again. Damn it, Zhang Ziyu, you bitch, do you really like being a bitch that much? You just like sharing a man with other women, right? You forced me to do this, bitch. I want to tell Uncle Zhang this news. I wonder how this pair of bastards in your family will welcome Uncle Jiang's anger. Damn it, Li Yuan, if it weren't for the juvenile fish protecting you, I would have killed you and cut off your 3rd leg. On the other side. After Xiaqin returned home, she was still immersed in joy. When her son grew up, he knew how to grow cabbage, and even received such an excellent and beautiful cabbage, which immediately made her feel particularly comfortable. As soon as she entered the house, she noticed with sharp eyes that there was an extra pair of women's slippers in the house. Tisk, tisk, it looks like this guy Xiao Yuan has taken Tingyu home. Xiaqin looked at the clean living room, kitchen, and bedroom, and the smile on her face became stronger. She is very clear about the habits of her son and daughter. Although they are not lazy, they are not diligent either. It is impossible to keep the house spotlessly clean. This can only mean that someone else must have come to clean up. Thinking of the lady's slippers at the door, Xiaqin naturally thought of her son's beautiful girlfriend. Now that our relationship is confirmed, we can meet my mother-in-law and father-in-law during the Chinese New Year, settle the relationship as soon as possible, get married after graduating from college, and have a fat boy as soon as possible. Lao Li and I can be considered complete in this life. It's a mission. Xiaqin simply washed up, then lay on the bed and slept for a while. By around 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I had already gone to the supermarket early and bought some vegetables, fruits, and meat, and then waited at the high school affiliated to Xia University to pick up Li Zixia from school. After a while, Li Zixia's figure appeared at the school gate. He immediately saw Xiaqin waiting at the door and ran over in surprise. Mom, why did you come to pick me up? Xiaqin touched her baby daughter's head and replied with concern, when I go back to my hometown these days, you have become hungry and thin. Li Zixia squinted her eyes and replied with a smile, no way, I have gained a pound. Look, you're so thin, you're almost fat, and you're still fat. Xiaqin glared and corrected her daughter's misunderstanding dissatisfied. Zixia, girls still have to eat well and be fat. That is a blessing. You are in the critical period of high school and you are so tired from studying. Don't starve yourself to lose weight. Don't listen to your brother's nonsense about girls losing weight. She is beautiful, what does he know as a man? I know, Mom, Li Zixia murmured, looking at the large and small bags in Xiaqin's hand, which were all her favorite dishes, as well as the lobsters and frothy crabs that were twisting their claws and muttering excitedly. With Mom, you still love me and make delicious food for me as soon as I come back. I'm tired of eating in the school cafeteria every day. Xiaqin asked, have you been eating in the cafeteria these days? Your brother hasn't come home. Li Zixia blinked when Li Yuan was mentioned, thinking about her brother's situation. For a moment, I hesitated in my heart, wondering whether I should tell my mother. In fact, this news was so shocking that it took her a long time to realize the fact. But even so, she felt unreal, like she was in a dream. Li Zixia muttered, well, my brother has been busy recently and has less time to go home. Xiaqin touched her head and comforted her, Zixia, your brother is in college and dating a girlfriend. If he has free time, he must spend more time with his girlfriend. Li Zixia was shocked and her eyes widened. Guazi's face was full of shock and he asked suspiciously, Mom, do you know everything? Xiaqin chuckled, well, I just met him at noon. Your brother has really good taste. His girlfriend looks like a fairy. Li Zixia nodded in agreement, and the figures and appearances of her three girlfriends, Xiao Haijin, Bai Wuxi, and Zhong Tingyu, appeared in her mind. In terms of looks, her three girlfriends were all top-notch. They were all indistinguishable. They all had their own characteristics. She was not sure which one her brother loved more. Li Zixia suddenly asked curiously, "Mom, which one do you like?" After hearing this, Xiaqin looked slightly stunned and subconsciously answered, "Which one?" Li Zixia was a little confused. Didn't her mother know that her brother had several girlfriends at the same time? "Mom, how many girlfriends did you meet with my brother at noon?" Xiaqin glared at her precious daughter. "Zixia, what are you talking about? How can you have so many girlfriends? If your brother can find such a top student and such a beautiful and sensible girlfriend, he will burn incense on his ancestral graves." Li Zixia was certain that her mother probably didn't know that her scumbag brother was having affairs. "Mom, what's the name of the girl you met at noon?" Xiaqin asked doubtfully. "Zixia, you don't know yet? I saw your brother has brought her back to our house." Li Zixia was speechless. There were only two people who had entered her house, Xiao Haijin and Bai Wuxi. She wasn't sure which one it was, so she answered hesitantly. "Mom, tell me quickly." Xiaqin didn't doubt it too much, and smiled. "Your brother's girlfriend is called Zhong Tingyu. She is really prettier than those big stars on TV. The key is that she is very polite and even gave me a gift." When Li Zixia heard the name Zhong Tingyu from her mother, she was startled. For some reason, she suddenly felt sorry for Xiao Haijin. Xiao Haijin was the sister-in-law who had been with her the longest. She was very gentle and considerate. She would cook delicious Sichuan dishes for her and patiently and seriously tutor her studies. But her brother did not take her to see his mother. Seeing her baby daughter's strange expression, Xiaqin thought she had never seen Zhong Tingyu, and smiled. "Zixia, I bought a lot of vegetables today. I will ask your brother to bring your sister-in-law back tonight so that you can meet her." When Li Zixia heard this, she looked at the big bag of vegetables Xiaqin was carrying and widened her eyes. "Mom, didn't you buy the vegetables for me? You prepared them for my sister-in-law." Xiaqin glared. "Silly near, can't you eat it if I cook it? Come home and help me clean the crabs." Li Zixia muttered, "I know." All the way, Li Zixia kept looking at her mother secretly, and was very hesitant in her heart, not knowing whether she should tell her mother the fact. After hesitating for a long time, she finally chose to hide the news in her heart first, because she was afraid that her mother would not be able to accept it. To this day, she herself cannot accept it. After the mother and daughter returned home, Xiaqin prepared the dishes that she had carefully prepared, picked up her phone, and called Li Yuan. A slightly deep voice came from the other end of the phone. "Mom, what's wrong?" Xiaqin laughed and said, "Xiao Yuan, bring Tingyu home for dinner tonight. I have prepared a few specialties." The other end of the phone suddenly fell into silence. After a long time, Li Yuan's voice came. "Mom, I have something to do at the company tonight, so I may not go back." Xiaqin was stunned after hearing this, and subconsciously replied, "What can happen at the company? Aren't you always writing books at home?" Li Yuan coughed. "If there is something else, I will take her home another day. I won't talk to you anymore. I'm still busy. You don't have to wait for me to go back at night." After that, he hung up the phone directly. Hilton Hotel, in the luxurious presidential suite. Li Yuan glanced at Zhang Ziyu, who was sitting nervously on the bed, and his mood was very complicated. The two of them left the school and, at Zhang Ziyu's insistence, came to a five-star hotel. Li Yuan booked a luxurious presidential suite. "Brother Ziyu, are you ready? Is there really a hidden camera in this room?" Zhang Ziyu's voice was obviously a little nervous. Li Yuan shook his head and explained, "There shouldn't be any in the presidential suite of a five-star hotel." Some small hotels may have one. Zhang Ziyu stared at Li Yuan shyly. Brother Ziyu, then, why don't you come over? Li Yuan walked to the bedside and looked at Zhang Ziyu, who was so close. The air was so quiet that the heartbeats of the two could be heard. Zhang Ziyu was very nervous at this time. She sat there with her arms and legs, holding the bed sheet with both hands. There was some expectation and some evasion in her eyes, and her body was straight. Li Yuan also sat next to Zhang Ziyu, gently rubbed her head, adjusted her mood, and smiled. Xiao Yuer, you look too nervous. Zhang Ziyu nodded shyly and snorted, it's my first time, it's normal to be a little nervous. Yeah, that's definitely normal, Li Yuan nodded. No matter who it is, they will be nervous for the first time, unless they are unconscious. Zhang Ziyu suddenly reached out and grabbed Li Yuan's big hand, looking at him shyly, opening her pearly teeth slightly, and her voice was a little strange. Brother Xiahua. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 319. Li Yuan's heart thumped. Facing Zhang Ziyu's eyes, he felt like he was electrocuted, and a current passed through his body. Before he could speak, Zhang Ziyu leaned over and kissed Li Yuan's mouth. Brother Ziyu, let me be your real girlfriend. Zhang Ziyu's sweet voice sounded like a charge horn, opening the door to a new world. Brother Ziyu, will you always love me? Yes, I will, forever. I'm a little scared, but I'm also looking forward to becoming Brother Ziyu's real girlfriend, even if it's only once. Ziyu, how about waiting a little longer? Wait until you think it through, don't let yourself regret it. Brother Ziyu, for you, I won't regret it, I've restrained myself. Brother Ziyu, hold your words, take me. 10,000 words omitted below. When Li Yuan broke through the 3 Highland Towers and forcibly occupied Zhang Ziyu's crystal. Zhang Ziyu's first ML experience reached its peak state. Because Zhang Ziyu was playing poker for the first time and had no experience at all, Li Yuan just tried to stop her, without asking too much, and tried his best to give her a perfect experience. In the bed, Zhang Ziyu lay in Li Yuan's arms, resting on his strong arms, with crystal tears flashing in the corners of her eyes. She raised her head, looked at Li Yuan's profile, and whispered to herself. Brother Ziyu, I am so happy. I finally became your real girlfriend. Chapter 196 Ziyu's farewell letter. Ziyu is officially online. Listening to Zhang Ziyu's sigh, Li Yuan wiped a string of crystal tears for her lovingly. She was crying, but the 2 dimples representing her smile were so dazzling. To describe it in one sentence, it was crying of happiness. Li Yuan couldn't understand the complex emotions in Zhang Ziyu's heart at this time, so he could only hold her tightly in his arms and try his best to give her more sense of security. He stared at Zhang Ziyu's eyes, and there was a shameless word in his mind, which stopped at his lips, but he couldn't say it out. Li Yuan now has no idea how to face Zhang Ziyu in the future, nor does he know what choice she will make. Zhang Ziyu stared at Li Yuan and asked coquettishly, Brother Xiahua, are you unhappy? Li Yuan nodded, shook his head, and sighed. Xiao Yuer, I feel very guilty now, and my heart is very tormented. Can you understand my feelings? His heart has been like being stabbed repeatedly recently, and it is very uncomfortable. The development of things has exceeded his expectations. When he first stepped into the university campus, he didn't think like this at all. He just wanted to take down Bai Wuxi and give her a special revenge, and then learn from the ancestors, passing through the flowers without getting a single leaf on his body. But now, Li Yuan realized that he has indeed fallen into it and can't extricate himself. Whenever he sees a few girls crying for him, he feels very sad. Love is a double-edged sword, which hurts others and yourself. Zhang Xiao lay in Li Yuan's arms and nodded gently. Well, I can understand your feelings, brother Xiaohua. In fact, you don't need to think so much, and don't feel sorry for anyone. In love, it is inherently willful. Like me, they all say that I am stupid and love-brained, and I shouldn't care about you anymore, and I should end it with you, and even ask me to retaliate against you. But after seeing you, I always can't help wanting to hug you and be with you. I know that there may be no result between us, but I still can't control myself and give you everything and be your real girlfriend. Maybe everyone will say that I am stupid, and I know that I am stupid, but I don't care. I just want to be like this. In a relationship, even if this relationship is so desperate, sad, and heartbreaking, there will always be an impulse, right? Li Yuan listened quietly to Zhang Xiao's emotional expression, and his heart was full of complex emotions. This girl is really very silly, silly but cute, silly but distressing. Therefore, he feels guilty. He can't even give her any compensation. This is Zhang Xiao, a silly and cute little fish who dares to love and hate. She just swam into his heart and stayed there forever. Li Yuan looked at Zhang Xiao in his arms. He couldn't figure out her thoughts now, and his voice was a little dull. Little fish, can we meet again in the future? Zhang Xiao blinked and asked playfully, then, brother Xiaohua, do you want to see me in the future? Li Yuan answered without hesitation, yes. After that, he stared at Zhang Xiao and waited for her reply seriously. Zhang Xiao was a little flustered by Li Yuan's stare, and shrank her head into the quilt again, and answered meaningfully. I want to see brother Xiaohua too. But Li Yuan's heart tightened, and a bad premonition suddenly emerged in his heart. But I can't stand sharing brother Xiaohua's love with other girls. I'm afraid that after this impulse today, I will lose the courage to say no to you. Brother Xiaohua, let me be willful again, don't blame me, okay? Li Yuan understood the meaning of Zhang Xiao's words, and a deep sense of loss surged in his heart, making him feel very powerless, but he couldn't say any words to keep her. He couldn't even find an excuse. Li Yuan smiled bitterly and touched Zhang Xiao's head. His tone was very low and helpless. Xiao Yuer, I said that I would respect all your choices. Even if you choose to leave. Zhang Xiao was also a little silent, and his heart was depressed. After a long time, he stared at Li Yuan's eyes and took the initiative to move his head over. At the same time, a deep voice came. Brother Xiaohua, love me again. Feeling Zhang Xiao's emotions, Li Yuan no longer hesitated and directly hugged the peerless beauty in his arms. This time, he did not hold back and used all his strength. Although Zhang Xiao had just experienced sex, she was as strong as a female warrior, trying her best to release her deep love for Li Yuan. Again and again. That night, the two did not sleep. The next morning, the sun was high in the sky. Li Yuan, who had worked all night, stretched himself, slowly opened his eyes, and touched the beauty beside him, but found that there was no one around him. Startled, Li Yuan stood up and looked towards the living room and bathroom of the presidential suite, but there was no figure. The peerless beauty who had been lingering with him late at night last night had left without knowing when. Xiao Yuer, Li Yuan muttered to himself, and his heart suddenly felt a little painful. Zhang Xiao, this love-brained girl, regained her sanity after the impulse, and finally chose to leave him when he was sleeping deeply. He didn't even have time to say goodbye. Li Yuan seemed to have been drained of his energy and spirit. He sat weakly on the bed, staring at the ceiling of the hotel with his eyes blankly. The feeling of depression in his heart instantly surged throughout his body. In his mind, scenes of the two people together emerged one by one. She was the first reader to reward him as the leader, and then joined the book club, got to know him in the book club, and added QQ friends, chatting online like friends. Until he came to the Magic City, and met him for the first time after the start of college. From then on, the two of them suddenly sparked. Li Yuan leaned against the bed blankly, his mind was filled with Zhang Xiao's voice and appearance, his heart was full of regrets, and he couldn't let it go for a long time. After a long time, Li Yuan regained his composure. Suddenly, he thought of something in his mind and hurriedly looked for something in various places in the suite. Until, he found a piece of paper under the vase on the coffee table in the living room. Li Yuan was startled, and moved the vase away with trembling hands, and took out the paper that was pressed underneath. Li Yuan trembled and opened the paper, revealing lines of beautiful female handwriting on it. It was left by Xiao Yu'er, Li Yuan said to himself, looking at the handwriting she left. Brother Xiahua, I'm sorry, I still chose to leave. I have no regrets about knowing you and everything I've experienced with you. They are all my beautiful memories, and I will always remember them in my heart. I'm sorry, Brother Xiahua, I really don't have the courage to say goodbye to you in person. I'm afraid I will cry, and I'm crying now. Li Yuan looked at the tears on the paper. The beautiful words were slightly soaked by tears and penetrated on the paper. At some point, Li Yuan couldn't help but shed tears from the corners of his eyes, splashing on the mahogany table. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 320. Li Yuan seemed to be unaware and continued to read. Brother Xiahua, I am leaving the magic city, but I promise you that I will not go abroad. Don't come to me, let me stay in another place and watch you silently until one day, I will completely hide this feeling in my heart. By the way, Brother Xiahua, you don't have to worry about the threats from Qin Hao and others. I also hope that you can live happily and realize your dreams. Little Fish, who loves you forever. October 15, 2008. After reading Zhang Xiao's message after parting, Li Yuan felt lost in his heart, and tears kept falling from the corners of his eyes, but he didn't notice it. Muttering to herself, Xiao Yu'er, why are you so stupid? For a scumbag like me, it's really not worth it at all. Perhaps, from the beginning, I shouldn't have agreed to add you as a QQ friend. In that case, you would still be the carefree, lively, and lovely elf angel, and you wouldn't be hurt so deeply by a scumbag like me today. Li Yuan read the farewell letter left by Zhang Xiao over and over again, and engraved every word she left in his mind. After a long time, Li Yuan was reluctant to retract his gaze and solemnly put away the farewell letter left by Xiao Yu'er. Take out your mobile phone and open QQ, which means that Zhang Xiao's QQ number has become dim, and the QQ space cannot be accessed. Li Yuan sighed, found Zhang Xiao's mobile phone number, and tried to dial the phone. It was indeed displayed. Sorry, the phone you dialed is turned off, please call again later. He called 10 times in a row, and the result was the same. Li Yuan's mood completely sank to the bottom. He had a premonition about Zhang Xiao's choice last night. But he never expected that she would leave so decisively. She just completed the coming-of-age ceremony last night and left this morning. He didn't even have a chance to say goodbye formally. Li Yuan clicked on Zhang Xiao's mobile phone text message box, pondered for a long time, and then slowly typed a line of words. Xiao Yu'er, I'm sorry again. I hope that one day, we can meet again, only your Xiahua brother. October 15, 2008. Click, send. Li Yuan held the phone like this, with a glimmer of hope in his heart, but after a long time, there was still no reply. Suddenly, the phone rang. Li Yuan's heart moved, and he hurriedly picked up the phone to check. When he saw the caller, he suddenly became disappointed. This call was from Lin Yue. Li Yuan answered the phone in a depressed mood. On the other end of the phone, Lin Yue's nervous and expectant request came. Boss, it's already 9 o'clock in the morning. When Zhihu.com is officially launched, all the staff are ready and waiting for your order. Listening to Lin Yue's words, Li Yuan came back to his senses. 9 o'clock this morning is the launch time of Datang Technology's first product Jihu.com. Li Yuan was in a trance. It was only one night, but it seemed like a long time. After sorting out his mood, Li Yuan tried not to make himself look abnormal. Team leader Lin, let's start according to the scheduled time. Okay, boss, wait for our good news, Lin Yue replied with a smile. Suddenly, she thought of what Li Yuan said yesterday, that he would personally take charge of the company after Jihu.com was launched, and she couldn't help but mention it. Boss, are you coming to the company now? Li Yuan was startled, and after a moment, he slowly nodded, I'll be there in a while. Lin Yue also heard something wrong in Li Yuan's tone, and immediately asked with concern. Boss, are you okay? Nothing, Li Yuan said lightly. Oh, then I'll hang up. As soon as 9 o'clock comes, I will notify the official launch of Zhihu.com. Lin Yue replied. Li Yuan nodded, well, go do it. After hanging up the phone with Lin Yue, Li Yuan took a deep breath in his heart, allowing himself to return to a calm state of mind as soon as possible. However, no matter how he urged himself to calm down, every bit of his time with Zhang Ziyu kept pouring into his mind, filling up the entire space of his brain. He murmured to himself, his eyes were confused, Xiao Yuer, will we have a chance to meet again in the future? At the same time, at the Magic City airport, Zhang Ziyu took the ticket and looked back at the city again, her eyes full of reluctance. Beside her, a middle-aged woman with a lingering charm looked at her baby daughter helplessly with a gloomy face. Xiao Yuer, forget the people and things in the Magic City. When you arrive in the imperial capital, you will have a brand new beginning. There will be people who are far better than him waiting for you. Zhang Ziyu's voice was a little hoarse, and his legs were a little strange. Looking at the relatives around him, he shook his head slightly. Mom, you don't need to persuade me. I'm grown up and I can handle my own affairs. Besides, I don't want to see him get retaliated or hurt. Otherwise, I'll die in front of you. The beautiful middle-aged woman was shocked. She had investigated Li Yuan. He was indeed very talented and capable, but he was also an out-and-out scumbag. What a pity. If she didn't know her daughter's stubborn temper, she would have taught that scumbag a lesson. The beautiful middle-aged woman touched her precious daughter's head lovingly and vowed. Xiao Yuer, don't worry, Mom has already warned that boy from the Qin family, he knows the importance of severity. It's almost time for the plane to take off, let's go. Your father and your grandfather are waiting for you in the imperial capital. When you get there, don't talk too much about things here, just pretend that nothing happened here, you know already. Mom, thank you. I understand, Zhang Ziyu nodded. Then she glanced at the metropolis with tall buildings behind her, her eyes seemed to have passed through layers of steel jungle, and she saw a figure in the hotel room, waving to her, with a smile at the corner of her eyes. Mom, let's go. In hotel rooms. Li Yuan checked the time. It was already 8:55, only 5 minutes before the official launch of Zhihu.com. He simply put on his pajamas, turned on the hotel's desktop computer, and prepared to check the registration status of the new website. When 9 o'clock arrived, Li Yuan saw posts appearing one after another in Daxia University's campus forum. Breaking news, Jihu.com is online, come and help shop, you can win tens of millions of prizes. Family members, I discovered a treasure forum. As long as you find someone to help you register, you can win a huge prize. If you are quick, you will win, but if you are slow, you will not be able to win. Time waits for no one. If you want to know the information about the girl with the high ponytail that you met in the campus cafeteria, come to the confession wall of Jihu.com and confess your love to the goddess, male god, you like. Here are the most professional sports forums: NBA, Champions League, Premier League, French Ligue 1, you can discuss your favorite teams and stars. Zhihu.com has launched Wet Topics, inviting you to share stories around you. Zhihu, China's most professional forum, let's share your stories together. Li Yuan looked at the huge army of trolls invited by the company, frantically posting high-intensity posts in popular forums and forums. All kinds of exaggerated claims were named on Zhihu.com. Thousands of online trolls are in major cities, simultaneously making high-intensity troll posts, leading the rhythm, and inviting friends to sign up for the cutting a knife mode. There should be unexpected surprises, right? Li Yuan thought to himself. Suddenly I felt a little more nervous. In order to promote Zhihu.com, he planned to invest up to 5 million in publicity and promotion funds. The grand prize that can be divided by cutting a knife alone is as high as 3 million. Every time you complete 100 registration tasks, you can get a bonus of 200 yuan. According to the Fighting Zixi model, you can continue to advance the progress. In this era, 200 yuan is no longer a small amount. The monthly living expenses of most college students are only 500 or 600. 200 yuan is equivalent to less than half a month's living expenses. Of course, there is also a bug here, just like Pinzixi, only new users register, the proportion will increase, and the proportion of users who have already registered is very small. The prizes are definitely real, but they are not that easy to get. In addition, there are some special lottery activities, including laptops, mobile phones, digital cameras, MP4s, etc. It can also stimulate the enthusiasm for promotion to the greatest extent. Internet trolls are hired at a standard of 100 yuan per person per day to post high-intensity trolls on various popular forums and websites. Li Yuan believes that with the combination of the two, it will definitely become popular on the internet quickly. This is also a very unique and fresh approach in the history of the world's internet. Half an hour later, Lin Yue called to report the real-time progress. Boss, within half an hour of just going online, the number of registered users on Zhihu.com has reached 75,435, and it is still increasing rapidly. At this rate, by the evening, there will be 1 to 2 million registered users. Lin Yue's tone was very excited. The promotion method of cutting a knife and the internet trolls instantly detonated the entire internet. After all, Li Yuan took out real money as a bargaining chip and gave the money directly to the users. Boss, this cutting a knife model you came up with is really amazing. Now it is starting to spread on the websites of major universities, inviting people to help cutting a knife to register. Li Yuan was also very excited, but he still pointed out the key issues in time. The number of registrations is just an indicator, but the most important thing is to retain people. Tell the operation and maintenance department to proceed according to the original plan and improve the user experience as much as possible. Not only to invite users in, but also to stay, that's all.